Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news tonight. Get your comments in, it's the 8 o'clock show, you drive it. But we've got Fabrizio Romano talking about Baleba and a potential January transfer. Also the latest on Mainoo and where he could be heading. And also a question to you, Rashford on fire again for England. What a cross into Harry Kane. Are you feeling Rashford regret? Or is this just something we need to live with because naturally he started to play well at Barcelona when he wasn't putting it in at United? Where do you sit on that? Because I've got to be honest, I get a little bit tired of the whole Rashford's cooking, we made a mistake. I think the honest answer is we didn't. And fair play to him, what he's doing, but he wasn't putting it in a Man United shirt, was he? So, you know, player goes somewhere. It's like breaking up from someone, you know, and then they get in a new relationship and they start doing stuff they weren't doing with you, you know. Big deal. Move on. Time to move apart. Anyway, drive the show. 8 o'clock. This is what we do. Get the conversations going. You could be comment of the evening by creating a really good debate. But we're going to start off with Fabrizio Romano's update on Baleba. Now, this morning we were talking about Elliot Anderson. We've obviously spoken about the January transfer window. Fabrizio was one of the people that spoke about the Baleba situation in the summer and how Man United really wanted the deal to go ahead. So this is what he's had to say today. My information remains that there are several names, but Man United want Baleba since August. In January, it's likely to be a difficult deal because Brighton insist on not selling the players. But for the summer, unless the stance changes for January, and he does leave that open, we'll come back to that. We'll have to see what happens. But for the summer 2026, for sure, United see Baleba as a priority target. Man United still want Baleba. Baleba is still very keen on a move to United, even now, more since then, because they're doing well in the Premier League. Baleba is a name we've got to keep high on United's shortlist. So the interesting parts from that for me are, in January, it's likely to be difficult. But unless that stance changes, and we'll have to see whether it does, for the summer, he remains a priority for Manchester United. So I think there's a few things to unpick there. It appears that United are going to do what they've done before with Jadon Sancho and a couple of other players in our past, where we basically land on a player and we don't let it go. Regardless of whether the price is too much or regardless of whether the player isn't performing well, that's what we do. Also, I've just realised we're sponsored by Manscaped on the show tonight. I'm a little bit late on doing that. It is there, though. They have been there, and you have noticed it. So, you know, it's not that bad. But we are sponsored by Manscaped on the show today. You can get 15% off your entire order with the code TUS15. You see what they did there? TUS15, and you get 15% off. Precision engineering for your family jewels, trusted by millions of men worldwide. And specifically, we're talking about the Performance 5.0 Package Ultra. It's the ultimate upgrade for staying fresh all season. Whether you're buying your partner, your brother or yourself, trim the grass to make the yard look bigger. This all-in-one grooming kit keeps you clean, confident and ready for whatever winter brings. So stay sharp, stay fresh and take on the colder months with confidence. Head over to manscaped.com and you can join over 13 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped. Use the code TUS15 or for 15% off your entire order. And obviously, I've got the Lawnmower 5.0 in the hand. Fantastic bit of kit in the box there. You can get yours delivered to your door and 15% off with the code TUS15. But it's not just down there. They do shaves. I actually need one. They do up the nose with the hedge trimmer. They've got loads of stuff. Precision engineering for your family jewels, like I said. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's all covered in the male grooming area. So score with Manscaped, 15% off with the code TUS15. Thank you very much to Manscaped. And as you can see, you can scan the QR code next to me or go through the link in the video description. Louis says we need the kitchen tour. That will come. And Rory C says, let's start off with Ireland one step closer. Yes, I did. I didn't watch them today. I've been very, very busy because I've got something going on this week, which you'll see maybe tomorrow, certainly hopefully on Tuesday. So keep your eye out for that. But well done to Ireland beating Hungary and obviously Portugal to give themselves a chance of going to the World Cup. They've got a playoff now. And that's Ian Graham asking for that as well. Get Troy Parrott up front. Lots of the Irish eyes are smiling tonight. They're loving it. And having lived there for a few years, I can imagine it's a great night in Dublin town tonight. And I wish I was sinking a few with you. But well done. well done to Ireland. I was very, very pleased for them. One in, one out sounds like an immigration policy, says Julian. It really doesn't. It really doesn't. It sounds like a football channel talking about one player coming in and one player leaving. But, you know, you leave that at the door and let's not go down that road. So yeah, let me go back to what we were talking about with Romano. We'll talk about Mainoo next. I think with regards to Baleba, look, you know me, I'm not going to beat about the bush. I'm going to be very, very honest about this. It worries me a little bit when United get stubborn, and we have been stubborn for years. And just because Ed Woodward and Murta and a lot of the scouts have been changed doesn't mean that the habits don't. I think managers come into this football club and don't look at the previous manager's mistakes and make the same mistakes. And I think that's the same with directors of football and CEOs. I think people just get very, you know, set in their ways of what needs to be done. And it sounds like, from what Fabrizio is saying, that they're still very convinced that Baleba is a player that Man United should go for. I just have that concern, and you know, I really do. I cannot justify 3 months of crap performances. I can't. Oh, because you didn't get your move to Man United. I mean, mate, you're literally making yourself look weak. You're making yourself look like you're not ready for that move. Oh, I didn't get my move to Man United, so I'm now shit. I mean, you're not doing it on purpose, because that would be even worse. You're rattled because you didn't get your move, and that just shows a weak mentality. So I think United need to be looking at that and going, unless you're giving him to us for less than 50 million quid, what are we going to do with Brighton in the summer? What are we going to do? Go back and go, we'll give you 80. I mean, he's not an 80 million pound player, is he? He's nowhere near Caicedo. And I've got to say, I was someone in the summer saying, let's do a package that adds up to 100 million with add-ons and achievable targets, etc. But what an eye-opener the last 3 months have been. It's been crap. Really, really bad. So, yes, Fabrizio may be saying that Man United keep him as a priority, and I'd be very surprised if we did ditch the interest. But I think we've got to look at it and go, there are big red flags, and we've made these mistakes before. We've made these mistakes before where we get set on a player and we go, this is the right player, we've done all the work, and you sort of like go, well, look at Mason Mount. Mason Mount, what a terrible signing he is. I mean, he literally had the injury that has caused him the problems at Man United at Chelsea, and we still did the deal. And not only that, he only had a year left on his contract. We gave Chelsea £55 million for a player with a year left on his contract. He's basically been injured for 2 years, and we gave him 250 grand a week. Incredible, incredible. So we've got to be very, very careful. And as Savage says, there are so many midfielders available. And I think that's a great point as well. Because if Man United desperately need 2 midfielders, if the midfield transfer market was, you know, bare, there wasn't that much there, then you may look at Baleba and go, it's worth the risk. It is worth the risk because we desperately need a midfielder. But there's a very good market out there, and we need to get it right, says Mini Brew. Hope you're doing well, mate. We do. Liam Vernon says, let's sign Troy Parrott. What a player. Are you going to admit if you are wrong? Are you going to admit it if you are wrong, says JB. I mean, I love comments like this. I mean, absolutely irrelevant. Absolutely no grounding of intelligence at all. And really just trying to be a prat. I mean, what are you talking about, JB? Are you going to admit it if you're wrong? Wrong about what? What am I going to be wrong about? What am I wrong about? If we sign Baleba and he does really well at United, you know what I'll say? I won't say I was wrong. I'll say, fair play. He's a good player. I thought he was a good player to sign in the summer. What I'm saying is there's a red flag at the moment. I'm not saying don't sign him. I'm just saying we shouldn't be prioritising him over other players. If that's what we end up with, because we don't get Anderson and we don't get Stiller and we don't get anybody else, then I will back him. But what I'm saying is, I think there's better options in the shop as of today. Now, if next weekend he plays really well for Brighton and for the next 2 months he plays really well for Brighton, things change. Things change. Do I think we can sign him in January based upon what Fabrizio Romano has said? I mean, what he's basically saying is that it's likely to be something that they go for in the summer unless things change in January. He didn't need to say that. And what I think about that is that Brighton are probably not in their best situation because they were holding out for close to 100 million and felt that they were going to get it, and he's played absolutely shit. And suddenly, he ain't worth 100 million. So I think Brighton in the summer were like, we're going to go hardball. We're going to ask for 100 million quid. And if he doesn't leave, that's okay with us, because next summer there'll be a load of interest in him and we'll get 100 million pounds anyway. What's actually happened is Baleba's... I mean, do you think Baleba's down tools? I mean, I've gone high pitch there, but think about it, right? Man United were in talks with Baleba. As per David Ornstein, as per everybody, we were in talks with Baleba and his agent. We said we're not going to pay any more than 60. Brighton wanted 100, and we walked. Baleba, when he was in talks, probably thought, I'm heading to Old Trafford. He ends up staying at Brighton. He gets the hump. Brighton probably go, we're not that bothered because we get to keep you and then we can sell you next year. Baleba goes, nah, I'm not a piece of meat. I'm not just going to be going off to your highest bidder, and starts playing badly. The problem with that theory is you've got to believe he's doing it on purpose. And as Drusha says, he doesn't seem to have much interest in playing for Brighton anymore. I've not watched him enough for Brighton to know that. I think against Man United, though, he may as well have put a red shirt on. I mean, he did not see... he didn't seem up for it at all, did he? Sinead says, do you think United will be combining the two windows if they spend in January? Will they reduce their summer? PS, I hope not. Excuses. No, I think we've got money in January, Sinead. I mean, I'm waiting for the drip into the media that the January market, we don't really have any money. We've got to be careful about FFP. But we already know that we were in discussions with Brighton for 60 million to sign Baleba. And that 60 million didn't get spent. And even if you take Lemen's money off, there's still 40. So we have got money in January. The club made a mistake there if they think they're going to go, we haven't got any money, because we bloody do. And that shouldn't be coming off the summer budget. So, no, we should still have money there. Do you think the club is moving in the wrong direction regarding playing the youth? Do you see Amorim using anyone in the youth anytime soon, says Daniel Hodgson, who has been a member for a very long time. Thank you, Daniel. No, I think in relation to the youth, and we did talk about it very, very recently, and obviously we can bring that in from the second part of what Romano spoke about today. So basically what he's had to say as well in relation to Mainoo is that Mainoo is very interested in joining Napoli on a straight loan with no buy option or obligation to buy. He wants to stay at United for the long term, but he wants to play in the short term, and Napoli's where he wants to go. So that's very interesting, isn't it? Because it sort of fits in with what you're talking about there, Daniel, and how we're developing youth. So when you say, do you think the club is moving in the wrong direction regarding playing the youth? In the short term, it is, and Mainoo almost symbolises it. In the short term, we're not using Mainoo, and he wants to go somewhere else. But in the long term, he wants to come back to Manchester United. And I think that sort of resembles what we're doing with Ruben Amorim. I think in the short term, there's no way he can use young players, but hopefully in the long term he can. And the reason he can't use them in the short term is because we're chasing results. We weren't convincing against Forest. We weren't convincing against Spurs. We can't hide behind good performance because it wasn't, especially in the second half. But we've managed to stay unbeaten. And we have won a few games before that. And we are in contention for the top 5. So Amorim's job at the moment is to get us back into Europe. And he is doing that with the players that he's using. Obviously, there's no youth theme to that. But that's almost like asking him to do something extra that's not part of the brief, isn't it? If I go into a pub at the end of the day and they say, can you clean up all the glasses and, clean the floor up? And then they say, can you also... wash the windows. I'd say, well, it's not part of my bloody job, is it? He didn't ask me to do that. So I think he's, I think Amorim is doing the job that he's been asked to do. And I almost do question actually, like, I almost do question sometimes, like, do we ask for too much? Do we ask for too much? Like, do we ask for too much in relation to what we've been recently? I mean, we finished 15th. We've been embarrassing for a very long time. Now we're starting to get some semblance of results and a little bit of a glimpse of, a way back. And people start moaning about things like why we're not using youth at the moment. So, I pose that question, do we ask for too much? Having said that, somebody said to me a couple of weeks ago, you're moaning about drawing against Nottingham Forest. We finished 15th last year. You and other fans expect too much of this team. And my answer to them was, hold on a minute. We're Manchester United, mate. If you think I'm going to sit there and be grateful for a point against Nottingham Forest when we were shit in the second half, you know, that's great that you feel like that. And obviously, I understand it because you're going, we were 15th last year and we've just joined to Forest, whereas last year we lost to them. But I'm sorry, mate. I'm impatient. We're Manchester United. I'm not going to sit there and go, ooh, that's progress. We scabbed a draw and we lost there last year. I don't think it is bloody progress. I think we should have won the game. So, you know, sometimes we do demand too much, I suppose, but sometimes I think the demand is what Manchester United should be. Certainly. JB says, I remember last year you were eager into signing Ugarte, but now he barely plays. If I was Man United, beggar can't be choosers. Too early to judge, I feel. I don't really understand your comment, mate. If I was Man United, beggars can't be choosers. Too early to judge, I feel. I don't understand that bit. I understand the first bit. Last year, Mark, you were eager into signing Ugarte, but now he barely plays. Yeah, I'm not the manager, mate. I don't know what you're on tonight, but I'm not the manager. I liked the signing of Ugarte because when you look at Ugarte and what he'd done at Sporting and what he'd done at PSG, we were missing that in our midfield. The intensity to go and win the ball back, and he was one of the best in Europe. He's one of the best midfielders in Europe at winning the ball back. So he looked like a good signing for Manchester United. Now, like any signing, they can hit, they can flop. I don't think Ugarte's first season in England was terrible. I think there was good and bad. I think this season's a joke. Last season, I completely disagree that he was a flop. It's your first season in England. There were some good games, there were some bad games. This season, it's a joke. And to be honest with you, he wasn't bought for Amorim's system. He was bought for a 4-3-3 as well. So I hope Ugarte can still turn it around. But as I've said to you before, I don't think Amorim trusts him. I don't think Amorim wants him. And I don't think he wants Mainoo either. So, you know, I'm not the manager, mate. Gahey didn't get his move to Liverpool but stayed professional. Baleba's mentality is a red flag, says Terp. Sign Anderson, who can give you 6 out of 10 week in, week out, and do it now, says Terp. I mean, look, Anderson's a regular for England, isn't he? He's doing very, very well. Would you take Fulkrug? Also great charity. Sad I couldn't watch it live this year, says Who to Blame. The charity stream has done fantastically well. We have gone over 37k now, so thanks everyone who got involved with that yesterday. I could do with a sleep tonight, but yeah, fantastic. Prantech Gaming says, media will attack on any midfield players we sign. The issue will come if we don't sign anyone in January. No settle period. We need to sign now. I couldn't agree more, Pran. Absolutely spot on. Thanks for your super chats. Kyle92 says, hi, Mark. My fear is that by the summer, we'll have 2 new midfielders and not offload Bruno, and he beats one of the new midfielders into the starting side. I hate international football. I like the World Cup and I like the Euros, but these international breaks, they serve no purpose to me at all. And I'm allowed to say that. They're just a waste of time. You know, as I said this morning, Casemiro scores a goal and we should give him a new contract, according to some of our fans. Ekitike scored an amazing goal. We've seen what he's like for Liverpool. He's okay, but he's not the best player in the world, but he scored a bloody good goal in international football. You know, Bruno scored a hat-trick today against Armenia. Oh, King Bruno. You know, it's just like, it's international football. It's shit. It really is shit. I just, it has no comparison to Manchester United or Premier League football. It's slower. The standard's shit. I mean, England haven't conceded a goal. They've won every game in the qualifiers and they haven't conceded a goal. England are a good team, but come on. Not to concede a goal and to win every game. We're not that good. We're good, but we're not going to win the bloody World Cup. I think international football's a load of shit. But what it does do is it gives glow-ups to players and fans who start taking international form and acting like it's relevant to Premier League form, and it's not. And that brings me nicely on to my next topic, Rashford. It was a fantastic cross into Harry Kane today. And I went on, as soon as that cross went in and Harry Kane scored, I went onto social media and I thought to myself, here we go, Fabrizio Romano time. And lo and behold, there it was. Rashford needs to come back to Man United and shine. Amorim needs to swallow his pride and take Rashford back. Rashford would be cooking in this Man United side. And I'm like, I was laughing. I was actually laughing. I wasn't even despairing. I was laughing at it. I was like, oh my God. Welcome to the world where every level of IQ is welcome. Because I was just like, oh my God. these people have the memories of a fucking goldfish. It's incredible, absolutely incredible that they do not even understand recent history of the club they're meant to support. I'm really pleased for Marcus Rashford because I want him gone from Man United. He wants to be gone from Man United, and if he can get a career and carry on, and I actually quite like him in an England team because he's quick. I think Kane at Bayern Munich works really well, and at Spurs with wingers that are quick and run past him, and Rashford off the left is quicker than Anthony Gordon, so it works really well. And obviously, we'll get some money out of it. So, yeah, I think, I am happy for Rashford. But I don't want him back at Man United. And all these people who say we made a mistake or we should bring him back, I'm almost like, it's not even been a year since he did an interview saying he needs a fresh challenge. He said, I think I need a fresh challenge. He did an interview that the club didn't know about and said he needed a fresh challenge. And we've got fans saying it was a mistake to let him go. Amorim made a mistake. We should bring him back. He did an interview without Amorim's permission saying, I need a fresh challenge. And we should bring him back because we made a mistake getting rid of him when he said, I need a fresh challenge. What people need to realise is that Rashford wanted a new challenge as much as Amorim wanted to move him on. And that's great. And that's fine. And that's what's happened. And all that's happening is he's gone to Barcelona. He's playing at a fantastic club. He's doing really well. He's putting the effort in. And he's reaping the benefits of that. And at Manchester United, he wasn't happy, he wasn't putting the benefits in, and he wasn't playing like that. And that's it. It's as simple as that. We should just be happy that he's doing well and move on. It's a relationship that's ended. We should not be resentful. We should not have regrets. And we certainly should not be going back. It's just the natural parting of ways, and hopefully both parties are better for it. And can I just remind people, we finished 15th last year. We're 2 points off third. So whilst Rashford's doing well at Barcelona, we're actually doing better as well. Why would we need to go back to something that ended very badly? Why not go, well done for what you're doing. We're doing our own thing. Let's move apart. And that's it. And that's it. It's like an ex in a relationship. Don't bloody go back. Don't be falling into the trap that things are going to be better because you'll rediscover the problems that were there in the first place. And he is playing very, very well for Barcelona at the moment, and he's playing very well for very well for England as well. But absolutely not. And what the one I find the funniest is the people who say this is on Amorim. Amorim should pay for this, and I'm like, he was crap under Amorim and he was crap under Ten Hag. So it's a bit of a coincidence that two managers that have got nothing to do with each other, who play different systems, are responsible for this player not playing well in a Man United shirt. He needed a change. He's had a change, and he's doing well. End of days. 100% Rashford wouldn't be doing well if he was still at United. Plus, he doesn't suit Amorim's system, says Duncan. I mean, that's a very good point, Duncan. Where would he play in this system as well? You're certainly not going to... He certainly can't be a number 10, and Mbeumo and Cunha are better at that than him. He's certainly not a striker. And I can't imagine him wanting to do the job that Dorgu does at left wing back. So he wouldn't even fit into this system. It's a good point. Thank you, Duncan. Hi, Mark. My granddad died in 2020 and my best friend Caleb died in 2023. Thank you for what you did yesterday. Saying thank you. And thank you very much for sharing that with us as well, Coolio boy. I hope you're doing well. And thanks for being part of this fantastic community. Ali Tahar says, if we will not Baleba... Let me read this properly. If we don't get Baleba for 50 million for his form, then you will not be buying Isak 50 million either. Okay, I'm going to try and figure out what you're saying there. Yeah, I can't. I don't know what you're saying. If we're not paying 50 million for Baleba on form, then you will not be buying Isak 50 million either. I think what you're trying to say is that Liverpool bought Isak and he's not playing well. So we should spend a lot of money on Baleba and he will play well. I still don't know. I still don't know what you mean. Stiller or Gallagher is a must in January. Then Anderson, Schlotterbeck and a left wing back in the summer, says Desiree. Look, you don't need to convince me. My stance is that we must bring a player in January, and I am very interested, and I did want to, it's a Sunday night show, so why not? But, you look at these You look at these fixtures that we have over the next run of games, and I can't wait. I can't wait to get back. Football back, but also Man United back, and all starts on Friday with the Bundesliga, and that's football, and what a weekend of Premier League action. And then we've got Everton. So Everton at home, Crystal Palace away, West Ham at home, Wolves away. You look at those 4 games and you go, at least 9 points, probably 10 points, maybe 12 points. Then Bournemouth at home. I mean, the guy could be getting his hair cut. We could beat Everton, beat Palace, beat West Ham, beat Wolves, beat Bournemouth. He has a haircut for Christmas, you know. Then it's Villa away, Newcastle at home, Wolves at home, Leeds away, Burnley away. I mean, it's just such a good run of fixtures. And look, it would be Premier League winning form to go and win 9 out of those 10. And you can guarantee something's going to go wrong somewhere, whether it's a dodgy VAR or whatever. But it's a really good run of fixtures. And the only thing I don't want to happen, and the reason I read you those fixtures out, is if we do win 8 or 9 of those 10 games, and then we get to January and the club go, yeah, we're not buying anyone because we've just won 8 of the last 9 games, they're idiots. They're absolutely idiots, because then we've got Man City at home, Arsenal away, Fulham at home, Spurs at home, West Ham away, Everton away, Crystal Palace at home. And they're not as easy a run of games. They're just not. Newcastle away, Villa at home, Bournemouth away. You know, we've got a good run of games, and then we'll have a bad run of games again. So I just don't... It's like last season, isn't it, when... And correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm slightly wrong on this, but last January, Amorim's first transfer window, we're sat there going, he's inherited a 4-3-3 team. Hardly any of these players can play his system. You've made a massive, massive change system-wise to bring Amorim in. Surely we're going to spend money in January. We get to January, we buy Dorgu, a 20-year-old left-back. And we let Anthony and Rashford go. And then on the 1st of February, Ahmad gets injured. And you're suddenly going, fucking hell, we haven't even got any bloody wide. We've got no number 10s now. So we've paid the price of this last January, and I don't want us to do it again. We have to be in a situation, and fortunately we do have to be in that situation anyway, where if we're going to go for someone in January, we've got to be in conversations now. And I feel that if we are, we're going to know very, very soon, because it's not really something where you can wait until January the 1st and then go, hey, is that Connor? Yeah, we're interested in you. You know, we've got to be having the conversations before. Sorry, I've just lost the live chat here. Troy Parrott to United, 5 goals in 2 games, says Damien. 100, Duncan, thank you very much as well for that. And media will attack on any midfielders we sign. The issue will come if we don't sign anyone in January. There's no settle period. We need to sign now. I think I've read that from Prant. I did. Yes, very good comment from you. Appreciate that. And JB's back in the house. He says, I would sign for Baleba, then Anderson if priced 100 million. Form and confidence can be changed over time. Look at Maguire and Shaw turning around this year. What's Luke Shaw turned around this year, mate? What's Luke Shaw turned around this year apart from a massive load of PR from the club because they live up his arse? I mean, honestly, what has Luke Shaw turned around this year? He's been fit. Luke Shaw, when he's fit, isn't a bad player. But I'm telling you now, you analyse Luke Shaw's games this season, second half tends to not be very good. First half, decent. I've seen Luke Shaw. He's trying to choke me. He's trying to choke me. I think I've got a seed in my mouth. I've just had a crumble. I've seen Luke Shaw this season. In the first half, I'd say he's done a 6.5 out of 10, maybe even a 7 out of 10. Second half, it drops to a 5. I think in the second half this season, in a lot of games, especially the Forest game actually, and you could argue the Spurs game as well. I can't remember which game it was actually. I think it might have been the Forest game. I think I said at half time, he's arguably one of the best players on the pitch. And then the second half, he was really, really bad. So I don't think Luke Shaw's having a good season, JB. I think he's having an okay season. but I think you're probably blinded by the fact that he's staying fit. I don't think he's been as good as people think he is. I think he's had good 45 minutes, but I don't think he's had many good 90 minutes performances. So, and I also disagree with you as well. I would not be spending 60, 70, 80, 90 million pounds on Baleba because you're telling me Luke Shaw and Harry Maguire are doing well this year. It's got there's no, in my opinion, and people might disagree with me, there's no correlation between buying Baleba, who is not playing well, and thinking, well, he might play well because Luke Shaw and Harry Maguire are playing well. Personally, I look at it and go, there's better options in the shop. It's like doing your research on what laptop you want. And there's a laptop that you were going to buy, but then when you do a bit of research, there's 2 or 3 other laptops that are better priced and better performing. And you still go and buy the one that you were going to buy. And that's how I feel about Baleba. I think it's like, I don't know, for the price and performance, why take the risk when there are better options with better performance? There are more, as somebody said earlier, there are other options in the shop. This is not the only option. If it's the only option and we need a laptop, let's go and get it. But there are other options in the shop at the moment. And I wouldn't take that risk right now. And also, as Red says, I think the minute Martinez is back, he does take, and hopefully he will be back, the minute he is back, he will take Luke Shaw's place because he's better than Luke Shaw. So there's not really anybody that can play that role at the moment. And whilst he's been okay, I wouldn't say if Martinez is back, I would be saying keep playing Luke Shaw. And hopefully Martinez will be back very soon. I mean, the feedback is that the reason he is training with Argentina on this international break is because he's very, very close. He's very, very close to being back fit. And somebody said to me last week, when you think about it, look, totally understand why United fans might look at it and go, you've not played for Man United for ages and then you've got an international duty with Argentina. But it's not proper international duty. He can't play for Argentina. He's not part of the playing squad. He's just training with them. But the reason they've done that is because Argentina are training in Spain, not in Argentina, so it's not a long-haul flight. Secondly, staying at Carrington, yeah, he can do all the stuff he has been doing, but if he goes to Argentina, he'll get more intense training than he would staying at Carrington, and that's the reason they've done that, is because it's obvious he's very close to being back. You wouldn't send him to Argentina if he's still a month away, so what you should expect is Martinez may be on the bench against Everton next week, because he should be really close. So let's see. Hassa says, "Evening, Mark. I missed the anti-Casemiro shows." I don't really actually think I've ever been anti-Casemiro. Casemiro is one of my favourite holding midfielders of the last 20 years. His first year at Man United, I gave him Player of the Year. He's not been anywhere near that player ever since. But he is our best midfielder at the moment. My issue with Casemiro is he's not as good as people think he is, and he's got to go in the summer. That's it. I wouldn't drop him. He has to play against Everton. He has to play the following game against Crystal Palace. He's the best midfielder we've got at the moment, but our midfield leaves a lot to be desired, in my opinion. But I'm a lot more relaxed about Casemiro anyway. As I said to you this morning, I am very relaxed about it because Marvin says you've got an agenda. I don't do agendas. So how can I have an agenda when I don't do agendas? I really don't do agendas, do I? Because as you know, Marvin, people like Anthony Martial, Luke Shaw, Bruno Fernandes, for years have been my favourite players at Man United. And if I had an agenda, I would never say a bad thing about them. But I do, because I don't do agenda. And I'm not a massive fan of people like Scott McTominay over the years, Harry Maguire over the years. But when they've scored goals and done well, I've said, you know what, fair play. Look at them, they're doing well. So I don't do agendas, mate. Let others do it. But with regards to Casemiro, I'm a lot more relaxed about it because of what I've been told, which is, and from a very good source, that he ain't staying at Man United. He's not going to stay at Man United. It's all a load of bollocks. Ruben Amorim may well want him to stay, but Man United do not want to give him a big wage, and he will not take a massive pay cut. So I think it's all fantasy, really. I think he's gone in the summer, so I'm quite comfortable with that. Hopefully he can finish the season well. Willian effect. The Willian effect. If you don't know what the Willian effect is, it's that Willian who, I think he's at Fulham now. It was the season where we had COVID, and football stopped between April and June, and then they had to finish the Premier League between June and August, and Willian was at Chelsea, and he was going to be out of contract, and for those 2 months, he was the best player in Europe because he was out of contract, and he was playing for a new contract somewhere. We could really benefit from Casemiro being out of contract in the summer because he is going to be knowing that Man United want to keep him on a reduced wage, so it's in his interests to play really well, to say to Man United, if you want me, you've got to pay me a top wage, and if you don't want me, there'll be a big list. So it plays into our hands, hopefully. Somebody just said it's outrageous, but then my live chat cut off, so I don't know what it's outrageous about. Let me have a quick look. Leaf Trimmer says, it's outrageous that Mainoo has played 4% of our season. Is that the statistics? I mean, as I said the other day, and somebody got their knickers in a twist about it and started, quoting different stats. The reality is, Ugarte and Mainoo are playing somewhere between half an hour and an hour of competitive football a month, statistically. We're into the middle of November now, so we've had August, September, October, and 3.5 months. So when you take their Premier League minutes and you divide it by 3.5 months, I mean, what's Mainoo? 160 minutes, something like that? 160 minutes of Premier League. He might not even have had 160 minutes. I don't have the paper in front of me. But if he's had 160 minutes in the Premier League this season, and I'm not sure he has, you divide that by 3.5, it's not even an hour a month, is it? So, you're getting what? Let's say he's getting half a game a month of competitive Premier League football. Crap. A month is 30 days. 4.5 weeks. It's rubbish. And part of that's because we're only playing one game a week and Amorim needs to win and he doesn't trust Mainoo. Of course, that's the main reason, but it's not good enough from a football club's point of view. I'm not that bothered about Ugarte because Ugarte's nearly 25 and we spent £60 million on him. But with Mainoo, he's 20, he needs game time, and we're just sitting him on his arse for another month. Like, we need to get him out on loan. Bring somebody else in, let him go on loan. So, yeah, in relation to the Napoli thing, I'd do the deal and bring someone else in. Emily Derry says, Shaw and other players like him are benefiting from playing one game a week. Put in Europe and Cup games next season and they become less of an asset and more of an injury waiting to happen, says Emily. Absolutely, absolutely spot on. I think you're absolutely... completely and utterly spot on. I think some of these players would really struggle to operate in the normal regime. And we spoke about it in the summer, didn't we, about how it was going to be beneficial to have one game a week. I think there's pros and cons. I think our bench is not match fit because they're not getting enough game time. And I think our first team does get tired in the second half because it's still the Premier League, it's still intense, and you are still going to get tired. So I think when we make subs, it sometimes hurts us. But there are other players that I think really benefit from one game a week. Kevin says, hi Mark, it's my first ever super chat. If we get two solid midfielders like Anderson and Gallagher and Casemiro leaves, would you sell Bruno or keep him for depth? Well, first ever super chat, I've got to say, Kevin, it may well be comment of the evening. I like it. I think it's perfectly timed, half an hour into the show, where we've done a bit of topical stuff, we've had a bit of a debate, and then we get something like this, which is what the 8 o'clock shows are all about. It's a hypothetical that could come true. So in your situation, Kevin, we sign Conor Gallagher in January, on loan or whatever, or somebody else, and then we get Anderson or someone else in the summer, and we've suddenly got two midfielders. Casemiro goes, which I think he will. Who knows what happens with Ugarte and Mainoo? Maybe Mainoo comes back and wants to compete for a place. Maybe Ugarte goes out on loan, which I think he will. So you'd have two new signings, Mainoo, and then you've got Bruno Fernandes. And the chances are Bruno might stay if we're in Europe, let's be honest. The problem you've got then, though, is I can't predict this is going to happen. I don't know. I have a theory that Bruno's going to Saudi and we've kept him for one more year. And I think that's an interesting theory. But imagine this. Get your heads around this, right? Man United sign Elliot Anderson and, I don't know, Baleba, right? Man United get Baleba and Anderson, yeah? in the summer. They're both Man United players, but we keep Bruno. Imagine next season, this time next season, mid-November, and either Baleba or Anderson are sat on the bench because Amorim wants to keep Bruno in the team, out of position, playing in the midfield. That could happen. It's not a problem for now. It could become a big debate point in the future, though. If we keep Bruno, he's never going to play as a number 10. He's always going to be playing in the midfield now. So if we buy 2 midfielders, and it was Anderson and Baleba, one of them's got to get benched, haven't they? So it's interesting. I mean, G-Man says Bruno needs to be moved on. If we get European football, I'm not 100% sure he will. In which case, we buy 2 midfielders, and are we in the similar situation where we are now, where he's basically going to have one of their places? I mean, it's a bit like Casemiro. I'm okay with it this season. It's working okay. But we're never going to win the league with them 2 in the midfield, by the way, and we're probably always going to be battling for 5th. I don't see us being a top 4 team with those 2 in the midfield. So you've got to make the progression by adding 2 midfielders. So if we go into next season with Casemiro or Bruno in the midfield, I think we're not making the step forward we need to do. And Bruno's never going to be a bench player. So if we are trying to buy 2 midfielders, surely that leads to the conclusion that both Bruno and Casemiro go in the summer. I mean, it's not really a conversation for now, but I like the conversation because it's halfway through an 8 o'clock show and we can do that. But it makes no sense to me to buy 2 midfielders and then keep Bruno and Casemiro. It does make sense to me to buy 2 midfielders, bring Mainoo back, try and promote one of the younger players, and potentially keep Ugarte. But Bruno and Casemiro will always have to start. So if you keep one of them, one of your new signings is going to be sat on their arse. Thank you very much, Kevin. JB's back again. He says, that's why I like you. We agree to disagree. All love. Mate, I love it. I love the conversation. I love the disagreement. I'm treating myself tonight to red wine because I haven't really had any red wine for a long time. And it was a bloody long stream yesterday. So, yeah, just treating myself. Tonight's my Saturday night. But well done to Ireland today, says Shane McGinty. Yes, and also keep an eye out this week on the United stand. We've got different things going on. All should become clear maybe later tomorrow or Tuesday. But certainly, I think it will be, if everything goes to plan, interesting content, certainly. And obviously, Premier League football's coming back at the end of the week as well. So make sure you smash a like and subscribe. Any chance for someone like Nuno Mendes, says Arfat? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Although, did you read this? Again, a good topic to bring in a little bit later into the show. I saw this today. So it's come from, I think it's come from a book, Diary from the Premier League, the story of Denmark's greatest coaching name. In May 2024, Thomas Frank was interviewed, and sorry, this was off the X account at UTD exclusive. In May, they put it out there, but it was from Diary from the Premier League, the story of Denmark's greatest coaching name. In May 2024, Thomas Frank was interviewed for the Manchester United job in Sir Jim Radcliffe's garage. So that was when we were. That was when we won the FA Cup, May 2024. So that was that period, wasn't it, where we'd won the FA Cup, and we interviewed Tuchel. We were looking at De Zerbi and Thomas Frank, and we interviewed Thomas Frank in Sir Jim Radcliffe's garage. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because we ended up with Ruben Amorim, and I think we're all very, very happy with him. But, I mean, wow. You know, you sort of look at it and you go, I mean, look, I've got an interesting take on it now. I've got a really interesting take on this. Listen to this and then tell me what you think. When you say Sir Jim Radcliffe's garage, by the way, it's not going to be like everyone else's garage. It's not going to have half a bag of hardened cement, you know, a bike with flat tyres and, you know, numerous tins of paint that you're never going to use that you keep in case you want them. I imagine his garage might have an office in it and a few bloody Ferraris and everything like that. But I I do want to say this because I was talking to somebody. It was on Friday. So on Friday, the kitchen's getting close to being completed, and they were putting up the curtains. And the two people who were putting the curtains up, really, really great lads, both Man United fans, and they were talking about Ricky. And one of them was saying how Ricky's always right, and I said, but I have a theory about football and Ricky. It's like a broken clock. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. And I think with football, you know, you can say Luke Shaw is world class and he can be shit for 6 months, but there'll be a game where he's world class. I think opinions can, you know, they're like buses. They go, you know, if you miss one, another one will be coming along very, very quickly. And, you know, obviously there are some players who are just terminally shit, but I think like my point I'm making is that when Ineos were thinking about sacking Ten Hag and we'd won the FA Cup, and it sort of ruined winning the FA Cup because we beat Man City, we were the underdogs, we played really well, and it was brilliant. I mean, it was when Alan Shearer and Gary Lineker did that horrific interview. You've just won the FA Cup, and they're basically asking him about being sacked. It was a horrible interview to do when you've just won the FA Cup. But Man United compounded it by basically FA Cup winning manager, 8th in the league, and they leave him waiting for 2 weeks while they interview other people trying to find somebody better. I remember I went for a little break and I was doing the shows from, I think I was in Devon actually, and I was going mad on the streams. I was going, you know, this is a bloody disgrace. This is not how a football club should be run. He's won us the FA Cup. We're back into Europa League. They need to back him in the summer and give him a chance. And I think it was about 60-40. I think 60% wanted to keep Ten Hag and 40% wanted to sack Ten Hag. And they kept him. And then they sacked him a few months later, having spent 300 million quid on him. And a lot of people were like, idiots, absolute idiots. They should have just sacked him. They obviously wanted to sack him. They bowed down to fan pressure. They kept him. They spent a load of money and then they sacked him anyway. Idiots. And people tried to point the finger at people like me and you, some of you who said we should keep him because he got sacked, and they were right. I actually look back on that, and I know what we just said there. We interviewed Thomas Frank. We obviously interviewed Thomas Tuchel. I actually think Ineos made the right decision, and I think as much as we take the piss out of them for some reasons, and they have made bad decisions, I think the way they treated Ten Hag after winning the FA Cup was shameful. But they did come to the right decision to keep him, because when you look at what happened last season, finishing 15th and, you know, not being in Europe at all, 8th place in an FA Cup isn't a terrible season for Man United in the context of what happened last year and what's been happening for the last 10 years. So I think he deserved another chance, Ten Hag. I think Ineos did come to the right decision. He blew that chance, he got the sack, and now we've got Amorim. And I think that was the right choice, because we've ended up in what I think is the right place. I think that if they'd sacked Ten Hag after winning the FA Cup and they'd given the job to Tuchel or Frank and it had gone wrong, we'd be in a worse position now. I think they were right to stick with Ten Hag. I think they were right to sack him. And I think now we've got Amorim. So I actually think I think that was the right decision. I think it was. Come on, Island, says Joey. Thank you very much, Joey. Thanks for being a member for 24 months as well. Get the badge in. If you're Irish tonight, cheers. Well done. I've got no idea what happens next. I can't get... I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I think football overcomplicates itself. We've had all these World Cup qualifiers, and it's still not over, because now there's playoffs. And I don't know when they're doing them. I presume it's the next international break. So they'll do the World Cup draw in December, but there's still a load of teams that we don't know who are in it yet. And I think that's a bit shit as well. Bruno staying is like the captaincy. He's either captain or he leaves, and he either starts or he leaves. I think he's that influential, says Emily. Oh, 100% Emily. I think if, and we've had the captaincy chat before, haven't we? I absolutely disagree with Bruno having the captaincy taken off him. The captaincy from Bruno goes when he leaves, because if you take it off him, and we'll never do this, the dressing room, it wouldn't be worth dealing with. Yeah. I'd love to see Ireland and Scotland at the World Cup, to be honest, as Gav. Oh, I'd love it. I'd absolutely love it. I mean, the World Cup's so big this year as well. I'd love to. But yeah, you're absolutely spot on, Emily. You can't take the captaincy off him until he leaves. And while he's here, he'll be starting every game, isn't it? You know, Bruno is not going to put himself in a position where he's a bench player for Man United. So, you know what? To go back to that point, if you've tuned in a little bit late, we would. Kevin started off a very good point about how if we buy 2 midfielders but Bruno stays, one of the new midfielders will be benched, and I think he's absolutely spot on. I think if Bruno is staying next year, he will have the captain's armband and he will start in the midfield. So one of our new midfielders will be benched. So realistically, somebody needs to have a chat with Amorim and say, why are we spending lots of money on 2 midfielders if one of them's going to be on the bench because you want to keep Bruno? And effectively, if Amorim says, that's just because that's what I want to do, then the club will probably say, why are we buying 2 then? You know, what's the point? We're not going to buy you Baleba and Anderson so you can bench one of them. So it might be that Amorim has to say to Bruno, look, you're going to be on the bench next year. Do you want to stay? I don't know. But it's in the future. And as I said, right here, right now, until May, whenever we do previews now, I don't even talk about Mainoo or Ugarte starting. It's Bruno and Casemiro. They're our best midfield 2 for now until the end of the season. Well, hopefully till January. And then hopefully we can bring somebody in. Someone in the chat just said, bit weird about Romano mentioning January with Baleba. They didn't really say that. I've made it up. But I just want to go back to that. I don't think it's weird. I think Amorim, Romano is basically saying it's January he's basically saying Baleba would be still a summer transfer deal next year unless Brighton do something and change their minds. I can't see why Brighton would change their minds. Having said that, he has been bad for Brighton virtually every game. If he comes back from this international break and he's bad all the way through November and December, what do you do if you're Brighton? Do you say, well, we'll wait till the summer to sell you and you're going to be bad between now and the summer? Or do they go, maybe now is the time to take that 60 million? I think that's what Romano is saying, is like, if Baleba continues to be bad for Brighton, do they get to a point in January where they go, let's just take the 60 and move on, because he ain't going to get any better, is he? But that, to me, would be bad on our part, because basically that's Baleba going, I'm not going to play well for you because you won't let me go. In which case, I don't like that personality trait. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see, of course. I'm going to sneeze again, aren't I? I think I need a dust. It's got to be dust in this room. Got to be. Board nowadays not the same as the past, the Edward era. There's no way United will buy 100 million for a player who not even world class yet. In regard to Baleba, Baleba lower his price equals board happy. Thank you very much, Yamakazi. Emma O'Reilly says I hate Arsenal, and that's basically all she said. Wasn't Amorim mentioning Bruno being benched next year at the last press conference, says Nathaniel? I don't think he was really talking about Bruno being benched. What he was saying is that, you know, if there's more options in the midfield, then maybe I will bench him. Maybe I will, because that might keep him on his toes more. Bruno Fernandes is Ruben Amorim's best player. He's number 1. He's his captain. You know, it's not the same, but it's a bit like Roy Keane and Sir Alex. It's exactly the same in many ways. It's just not as good a team. Roy Keane was Sir Alex Ferguson's general on the pitch. It was his captain. It was the first name on the team sheet. Bruno Fernandes is that to Ruben Amorim, whether we like it or not. So, yeah, brilliant. Okay, thanks everyone for watching tonight. I need to go and blow my nose now, which is annoying. But really enjoyed the show with you tonight, 8 o'clock. Check out the stuff we've got coming for you this week. That's all I'm going to say. And it'll be worth the wait, hopefully. Thank you, everybody, as always, for getting in. If you watch live, if you didn't watch live, then do leave your comments, as always, because we do read those. Have a great rest of your day, evening, whatever you're doing. And I will speak to you on the next one. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Take care. I'll speak to you in a bit.